All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. As we get a little closer to the NFL draft, should the Niners or will the Niners be looking at a position that they don't normally look to fill? We will discuss it coming up next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week, soon to open in Petaluma as well. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Go get some brisket. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that I sent you. The Krug Show is also presented by Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Prize Picks is super simple. You just pick one or more or less on player stats or even game outcomes and build your lineup. It's available in most states, including California. So if you haven't checked it out yet, use code HMA. When you play $5, you'll get $50 in lineups instantly. All right, let's get right to our video. Matt Mayoko, 49er insider, NBC Sports Bay Area. Always seems like he's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on with the Niners, and we're getting closer to the draft. And Mayoko's talking safety. He's thinking that they may go the route of a safety, which would definitely be interesting. And here's what he had to say. We'll share the screen, and then we'll play this, and then we'll react to it. Here's Matt Mayoko earlier.
But I think probably the under-the-radar position to take a look at with the 49ers at 27 would be safety. I am of the opinion that they really like Malik Mustafa. However, they're less than satisfied with Jair Brown and with Marquis Siegel. Now, those are two young guys. Siegel will be entering his second NFL season. Very good about his closing speed, being around the football. He started the season as a starter, but then got benched a little bit later on and then went back into the lineup when Jair Brown was injured. Jair Brown did not begin the season in the starting lineup, kind of worked his way back into the mix, and then ended up having an okay year. But I sense that there's not complete satisfaction with the safety position. And I think it is conceivable that at 27, something there lines up for the 49ers where they would look at the safety position. There probably will be a couple of safeties already off the board, but maybe not a sure thing. Emanuel McNeel Warren from Toledo is a guy that might go in the late teens, early 20s. I think the same can be said from Dylan Theamman from Oregon. I think those guys are possibilities. But some other guys that I think are just right up there with those guys, neck and neck, who would warrant consideration at number 27 would be Bud Clark from TCU, AC Halsey from LSU, and also Jaylen Kilgore from South Carolina. So, will any of those guys still be there at 58?
All right, so that is the discussion, and there's a little bit from Niner insider there, Matt Mayoko. Okay, so let's talk about it. Will the Niners go safety in the first round, and should they go safety in the first round, and if so, which of the safeties would you want them to go with in the first round? Well, first, let's take a look at the depth chart, because I think if you look at the 49ers going into this draft, I think it's pretty clear two things really stand out. At wide receiver, you've got a lot, right? You got Evans, Pearsall, Kirk, you got Jordan Watkins, Cowing, DeMarcus Robinson. You're 6 deep. You haven't added a single draft pick yet or undrafted free agent. You got 6 players that are all NFL caliber typically right there. Could you use another receiver? Sure, but you got a lot of receivers. On the offensive line, do you need help? Yeah, look, right there at left guard. You need a starter at left guard, and I think you need an upgrade at center. So you need an interior offensive lineman for sure. Then you need a tight end because you don't have George Kittle for the, he's going to be out for an extended period of time, it looks like. And then Tonjes, Luke Farrell, Braden Willis, Hayden Rucci. That's not the most star-studded tight end room, so you could definitely use a tight end. You're set at quarterback. I think you're 4 quarterbacks, so he'd be perfectly satisfied. Shanahan would be perfectly satisfied going to camp with those 4 quarterbacks. And then running back wise, I think you could probably definitely add at least one or two running backs to this mix, and it sounds like they would like to add something. So, but as far as urgency, what's the urgent need on offense? It's probably left guard, and maybe I would say maybe tight end. But left guard would be the primary need. Now let's flip the card, go over and look at the defense. On defense, now granted everybody's coming off injury here, but you got Bosa and McHale, Collins and Oso Digizua as your first team D line. You got Samo, CJ West, Sebastian Valdez, Keon White as your second team D line. And then you still have guys like Evan Anderson and William Bradley King who have talent. So you have, 10 defensive linemen right now that you could play. But there's some injuries there, and obviously you always need more. So the D line's a need, but is it a pressing need? Maybe not. At linebacker, you've got D Winters, you got Fred Warner, you got Dre Greenlaw, you got Tatum Bethune. All those guys have started. Nick Martin was your third-round pick. I would imagine last year was an aberration, and he's going to get out there this year. You got some special teamers and Wallow and Gifford. You even have some other camp bodies there. So you look pretty good at linebacker, even though you could always use a great linebacker. Every good defense, you can always use another great linebacker. Then in the secondary, if you're not moving Renardo Green, and they say they're not, you've got Upton Stout, Demo Lenore, Renardo Green as your top three corners with Luter, Saran Neal. Now you sign Nate Hobbs. And you have Jacob Robinson, who's also a good player coming back in year two from BYU, who for the most part fans don't know much about. But at safety, you got Malik Mustafa, and then you've got some question marks. Jair Brown, you could upgrade there. Do they like Marquise Siegel? He's shown some good. He's shown some bad. I think both these guys have done some good and bad things. I don't know you can depend on either guy. And then do you have a fourth safety? It was Derek Canteen. You have Derek Forrest. They're more camp types. So I think you could make an argument that the Niners' number one need as far as finding starters in this draft is left guard and offense and safety on defense. So for Matt Mayoko to say safety is a priority, I don't think that's a wild claim by any stretch. In fact, to me, that makes sense. Okay, that's first and foremost. Does that make sense? I think it does. I think that absolutely makes sense. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the candidates that he's mentioned there. But first, let's tell you that we are brought to you by Novato Chevrolet, 2025 rated top car dealership by Carfax, family owned for over 50 years. Go see David, and he'll get you a screaming deal. Also, thank you to Alomar Marina. Dine while you float on the Sacramento River. AlomarMarina.net on the web, 5999 Garden Highway. Check them out. Great spot. You can pull your boat up and dine on the Sacramento River. And then also thank you to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, the great Anthony Catania. We appreciate him for sponsoring the Krug Show. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of these candidates that Mayoko is talking about. The first guy that one of the guys that he mentioned that is really interesting is Emanuel McNeel Warren, one of the hottest programs when it comes to defensive backfield play. The last few years, I think, has been Toledo. Sam Womack came out of there. He was a pretty decent player. Quinyon Mitchell came out of there. What a terrific corner he's been for the Eagles. It's a good program out of the MAC. And here's Emanuel McNeel Warren, who's just a big, rangy safety who really jumps off the film at you because he's very, very talented. He's a fluid athlete. He's rangy. He's very physical and run support. He's got 9 career forced fumbles, over 1,800 snaps played. The guy had a 92 coverage grade in 2025 from PFF. 83.2 run defense grade. The MAC is the MAC. It's not the SEC. And he did miss 5 games last year with a shoulder injury. And they say some of the recognition can be a little late. But I think this is going to be one of the better players on the board when the 49ers pick. And Emanuel McNeel Warren, I think, is a guy that they, would really fit what they do. Now, here is a little bit of footage of McNeel Warren. If we can, there we go. And you can kind of see for yourself what he looks like. Big rangy safety, comes up aggressively and run support. He'll take some bad angles, but he's got great length. And he's got a nose for the football, and he's physical. I really like him. I think he's going to be a very good NFL safety. Big, rangy safety. He's going to be hard to throw over. He'll get in passing lanes. I really like him. Is he my favorite safety in the class? No, but there's a lot to like here. Emanuel McNeel Warren, Toledo. Great athlete. Really like the way he moves. Very, very natural. So that's one guy that Mayoko mentioned. And McNeel Warren, I think, is a really good player. I'll get to my favorite guy at the end. I really do like AJ Halsey from LSU. First of all, LSU gets some amazing players. This guy transferred from Houston, 88 total tackles, 3 interceptions, 4 passes deflected this year, 1 forced fumble. This is all in 2025. What I like about Halsey, he's kind of a little bit of an old school throwback thumper. He's 220 pounds. He's a little bit more like a Ronnie Lott from yesteryear. I mean, he's not a hitter like Lott is, but he is probably one of the more physical safeties you're going to see. He's a thumper. He also has a good nose for the ball. He can play man coverage. He's comfortable in the zone. He's one of those guys that he's a hitter, but he also plays coverage. So, and he's got good size and definitely good heft. So AJ Halsey, I mean, he's a really good player. He was a really good player at Houston. He stepped into LSU and didn't miss a beat. So, I mean, 88 tackles, 3 picks. I mean, he was really good this year. If you watch the film, he's award number 13 for LSU. So tremendous player. Now, Mayoko also mentioned Bud Clark from TCU. Bud Clark is an interesting player too, but he's a different kind of a player. I don't think Bud Clark's much of a hitter. He's much more like a cover guy, but he's one of the best coverage safeties, I think, in the country for sure. 6'1", 185 pounds, very linear, built like a corner, built like a rangy corner. And that's kind of what he is. He's got great ball tracking ability. He's got unbelievable ball skills. This is one of the best ball skill guys there is. This guy's going to, if Mustafa's going to play in the box, this guy's going to play coverage down the field. He's got 15 career interceptions. He's very aware in zone coverages. Really, really good defensive player, both against man and zone. I don't see explosive movement, but he's got great instincts. He's aware in zone coverage. He had an 83.1 run defense grade during the 25 season. He's very much in his playbook, very smart. What's the downside? I mean, he's a little leggy and thin, and I don't know how much durability there's going to be there. He had a 90.1 coverage grade in 2024, over 2,700 career snaps played. So this guy has played a lot of football, 3-time team captain. This is a really great football player. He really is. Special teams player. 7 penalties, though, this year. It's a lot of penalties. The frame is light. I mean, this is not a thumper. This guy's going to be, he's going to throw, he's going to do what he can. He's going to throw his head in there. He's a courageous player, but he's not a force or a hitter or a factor in any way. He's a kind of a leggy corner looking guy right in the middle of your defense. So I do think he's going to be, he dives in low to tackle guys. He's also a little bit older. He's a 6-year senior, and the eye discipline is not great, but he trusts his instincts. He's got good instincts. This guy at the Senior Bowl looked like the best safety in the field. I mean, just always the coverage that he had, that Bud Clark had on some of the receivers and tight ends in Mobile was just like, what? This guy is just all over. The coverage was tight. I mean, if you like a guy who can really cover, Bud Clark's your guy. I'm going to show you some footage of him right here, and you can see for yourself. But I mean, he closes space. He's a willing hitter, but he's thin. He'll throw a shoulder in there. Here he is. He'll go low. You see that a lot. He'll go low on guys. He knows smaller guys go low. He's grabbing ankles. He's holding on for dear life. He's not an authoritative defender in the run game. He's not going to stay. He's not going to step up. This is more Merton Hanks, not Ronnie Lott. This is a guy who looks like a corner and has great coverage ability, like a corner. Great ball production, great coverage ability, great awareness in zone. Really no wasted steps in man. He's really solid. He's played a lot of football. Okay. He's an older player. He's an experienced player. And this is a guy that could step in right away and play really smart. Now, as I said, is he a great hitter? No. But man, he might be one of the best coverage safeties we've seen in a while. Really good coverage player. So that's Bud Clark. And Clark is a really good player. I thought he was one of the exceptional players. Then there's Dylan Theamman from Oregon. And Theamman is 6 feet, 200 pounds. What he provides is just tremendous range, both in the run game and in the pass game. The measurables on Theamman are off the charts. 6 foot and an eighth, 201 pounds, 31 3/8 arm length. None of those are special. Hands 9 inches, wingspan 6 6/8. But the running 40, he had a 4.35 40, 1.52 on the 10-yard split. Faster, 40 than Cooper DeJean. Same 10-yard split. 18 reps on the bench for Theamman. 41-inch vertical, 10.5 on the broad jump. So there's lower body explosiveness, and he's got a ton of range, and he makes a lot of plays. He's not always the best decision maker, but man, Dylan Theamman's probably going to be on the board for the 49ers. I shouldn't say that. I think he's probably off the board by the time the 49ers pick at 27. But if he's there, I think they're going to be very interested. So if you look at this class, Caleb Downs is the best safety, without a doubt. Theamman's probably going to go next, and I think he goes, somewhere around 15, something like that. Safeties, generally fall in the draft. Emanuel McNeel Warren, I think, is going to go in the 20s, and he's probably going to be one of the better players on the board for the 49ers when they're picking at 29. There are other players. Maddie mentioned A.J. Halsey, who's a more physical hitter from LSU, more of a box player, I think. His coverage ability is limited. He didn't mention Genesis Smith, but he's a good player from Arizona State. Bud Clark had a great Senior Bowl. The last guy that Matt mentioned is my favorite. And to me, there's some people that have this guy in the 3rd round, and I think I would take this guy in the 1st round. Maybe even if I could trade back into the second or early 2nd round, I'd be happy with it. But Jaylen Kilgore, the hot program right now in college football as far as personnel and great athletes, is South Carolina. South Carolina is the hot program out of the SEC. I mean, they get some crazy athletes. Emanuel McNeel, or the safety for the Seahawks, Emanuel Warren, was just absolute freak. And Jaylen Kilgore is cut from that same cloth. Brandon Cease, the corner they have, is a tremendous athlete. The big defensive tackle they have is a monster. South Carolina, Lenore Sellers, if he had been in this draft, he definitely would have been a 1st-round pick. I mean, just an absolute howitzer. They get some of the best overall athletes in college football right now. And they got one here in Jaylen Kilgore. And this is one of my favorite players. 6'1", 210 pounds. He ran a 4.4 flat 40. He had a 9.66 RAS athletic score, one of the best. 8 career interceptions, 2 this year. 10 PBUs in 2025. He only allowed a completion percentage of 52.3% when targeted. This guy is a lot. As I said, he's a poor man's Emanuel Warren. He is physical enough to play linebacker. He's a good enough athlete to play corner. Those are the kinds of guys that you want. This is a difference maker. This guy has versatility. This guy will throw his body in as a run defender. He's got versatility to play corner. He can cover like a corner. He can hit like a linebacker. He's 210 pounds right now. I think he played closer to 220. The 4.4 flat in the athletic testing in Indy, it's just off the charts. And then you look at the way this guy moves. I am a huge fan of Jaylen Kilgore. In fact, I think if it was me, I would go, if I were the 49ers, just looking at this from afar, I don't know that I would take him in the 1st round, but I absolutely would take him if he was there at 58 in round 2. Jaylen Kilgore would absolutely be my pick in round 2. And I would be holding my breath between 27 and 58. If you really want to make sure you get him, you could just trade down from 27 into the top of the second round and take him there. But I love Jaylen Kilgore. That is one of my favorite players. And this program that South Carolina is just a tremendous program. And Kilgore is he's really good in almost every phase. He's from Eatonton, Georgia, in Putnam County. And just, not only is he a great athlete, but he's an academic honor roll student, 3-year starter. This guy's really great. He was a freshman All-American, first team All-SEC as a freshman, second team All-SEC in 2025, tied for the SEC lead in interceptions last year with 5. Just a great athlete. Just a great overall athlete and a really, really good football player. And he can play in the box or he can play down the field. As I said, he was a fantastic high school athlete in the state of Georgia, played on both sides of the ball in high school. He was a wide receiver on offense. He was a safety on defense. And he was the Georgia Region 4 AA Athlete of the Year as a junior. So this guy's been great in track and field, great in basketball as well. Had an 11.62 in the 100. So 23.7 in the long jump. He was the Georgia 2A long jump state champion as a sophomore. He's already graduated with a public health major. So his older brother's on the team as well. Great player. Great player. Very good prospect. And as I said, I like Bud Clark as a cover guy, but this guy can cover as well, except Kilgore will hit you like a truck and will blow you up, and he's an intimidating player, and he's a better overall athlete. So I love Jaylen Kilgore in the second round for the 49ers. Now, if they want to trade back into the top of the second round and take him there, I would do that. I think it might be a little bit of a reach at 27, but he's a great athlete. I don't know if you can go wrong. When you're really, really good against the pass and really, really forceful as a run defender, as a safety, you have it. I mean, and to me, I see Jaylen Kilgore as an impact starter at the next level. And of the safeties Maddie named, I think that's the guy that I absolutely want if I were the 49ers. He's just a really good all-around player. All right, thanks to Habbas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. HabbasLaw.com on the web. Thanks to our other sponsors. The links are in the description for all of our sponsors. And thanks to you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.